but mute it because everybody has them muted.
Hello and welcome, folks. This is the New to Camp meeting. We did not go back in time. It is not February 28th. It is indeed April 20th. We just did not update that slide. I would like to introduce everyone as I continue to admit people to the meeting. I will first introduce our camp director, Bruce Lee. Say hi for us, Bruce.
Hi, Forrest Bruce.
Boo, bad joke. Okay.
Sorry.
How about our program director?
Hey everyone, I'm Nate. Good to see you all here.
There we go. I'm Dylan Hendrickson. I am the camping director. You can think of me as the council person. So we will move on to the next slide. This is Camp Hi-Sierra. This is the turnoff up at the top of the road. This is our sign. You will see it when you are driving up on Highway 108. It'll be on your right-hand side if you are coming through the Central Valley. And importantly, that gets us to where is the camp located? The camp is located in the Sierra Nevada mountains. So it is a very fun ecosystem, and we are located at just about a mile up. So 5,000 feet elevation. At the top of the camp road, you're pretty much at a mile. What's really important about that is we want to make sure that people stay hydrated. When you're at elevation, you need to drink more water than normal. So we highly recommend that people have a few water bottles when they're in camp and that they continue to drink from them. There are fun, exciting activities to promote using all of the drinking fountains in camp, and we like to promote those as well. Some fun, interesting stuff about camp that relates to getting to camp would be we have a small parking lot. You'll be able to see this in upcoming pictures, but one of the main things that we ask people to do is make sure that they carpool when they are coming to camp. And one of the major ways that you can kind of cut down on cars is by bringing everyone in a bus. We are bus accessible. They can get down the camp road, and we want to make sure that we fit as many people as possible in as safe as conditions as possible. So that'll move us on to the next slide. The geography of camp. You can put questions in chat, and Nate, Bruce, and I will try to get to them when we can, and we will make sure to answer them all at the end. So let's talk about the geography of camp. So this is the map. It is, what you can kind of tell is that the program areas are grouped towards the middle of camp near the river. The campsites are grouped up on the hillside above the program areas, and all of the fun stuff like the Blackfoot Meadow, Flag Meadow, Program Meadow, those are the major flat areas in camp. Camp is located relatively close together. You do not need a bicycle to get from one program area to the next, and the program areas are very close to each other. You can normally see one or two or three program areas from the other, and getting to classes from one session to the next tends to not be all that difficult. You do want to make sure that you plan to get to your campsite and from your campsite for flags and for some of the other major things. Shepherding a group of scouts from a campsite down to flags is a challenge in and of itself. So you want to make sure that you give yourself that time. And most areas are 15 minutes apart at the most. So one of the things, if you try to time it, the rifle and the shotgun ranges are a good 15 minutes away from the other program areas, but they are the furthest out there. One into the camp to the other, that's going to be about 15 minutes. Like I said, most of the program areas are pretty close together. The weather at camp is our next slide. It tends to be fairly gorgeous, but can have some unique challenges. In the daytime, it tends to be about 80s plus, so you want to prepare for warm weather. At night, it can get down to the low 50s. The big thing there is the temperature difference. So most folks are used to those sorts of temperatures, but they're not used to that sort of temperature shift, especially at elevation. And you will want to make sure that the youth that come up, and the adults for that matter, have proper gear. Because of the drought and because of extreme climate conditions, we are seeing some hotter temperatures on some weeks, and we do need to make sure that we are safe in dealing with those challenges. And one of the big things at camp is the dusty environment. So we are located in a pine forest. The pine straw breaks down into a very fine, chocolatey tasting dust. When you inhale, it is kind of delicious, but it also gets everywhere and on everything. So it can get into your backpack, it can get into your gadgets, your laptops. All of your expensive gadgets are not long for the world at camp unless they have extreme protection. And that's one of the big reasons we counsel youth against bringing them. Moving on to the next slide. It is a Bruce slide, so I will pass it along to him.
Thanks, Dylan, and welcome everybody tonight. Just to make sure that everybody's clear on tonight's focus, this is for troops that have never been to Hi-Sierra. We had a leaders meeting last week, and we'll have another leaders meeting coming up. Dylan will get us that date because I don't know it off the top of my head. We have had one of these meetings before, and it's been recorded and it's up on our website. But we want to just make sure that everybody has a clear view of camp and what to expect when you get there, because we know what it's like to go to a new camp and not have any clue of what's going on or how to be part of things. And we want to make that transition as easy as possible. Dylan, can you go back to the layout of camp real quick? So thank you. So we are in a valley. The blue Miwok Lake at the bottom is where we do our aquatic stuff. And that blue line that goes up is the river that comes into Tuolumne Lake. That is the middle of camp. Literally all the program on the right is there in brown. And as Dylan said, is very close together, except going up to the shotgun range, which is a 15-minute walk. And then everything on the other side of the blue line is administrative. So the office is there, the dining hall is there, the health lodge is there, all the staff lives there. So just to give you a little idea. And then we got the mitten up above is the parking he was talking about. And we have a little additional parking up above. All right, so let's go back to my slide. Sorry. As we talked about, parking is limited. I mean, we can fit pretty much as many cars as we need to get in there for the number of scouts that we have, but it makes it very tough coming and going from camp. So it is a 2-lane dirt road that goes from Highway 108, 2.5 miles down to camp, but getting cars and buses in and out of there efficiently can be tough, especially when people drop off their kid and they don't want to leave. They want to make sure that the kid gets tucked into a campsite and everything gets done. That's kind of not the flow we go through. We first go to the health lodge. We don't check people into their campsites immediately. So, you know, having parents just kind of hang around, that kind of causes a bottleneck in camp. So we'd love to have you around and check out the camp, but let's try to keep it efficient and have people flow in and out. So for drop-offs and leaving, we'll talk about drop-offs. So we will be stopping everybody at the top of the camp road like we did last year for COVID. We found that this practice actually worked out well and helped us. Until all of your cars are there from your troop, you'll not be allowed to go down the road and start your process of checking into camp. That helped us dramatically because one, we had everybody there at one time. We were able to distinguish between the people that were staying and putting them in one parking lot and the people that were just dropping off and putting them in a different parking lot. It helped us with all the paperwork that we have to go through at the very beginning. And it seemed to work out. So we're going to adopt that again for this year. When you leave on Saturday, people are going to allow just to come into camp on their own rate. And we will have parking people that will distinguish what troop they are and where to put the cars for pickup for each of the different units. So it's a little bit different on the pickup side. The river that I showed you, the blue line going down camp, no cars are allowed to cross that river. It's Fish and Wildlife. We are only allowed to bring our camp vehicle across that river. So all your gear is going to go from what's called the flag meadow which is right by the parking lot. And then you're going to need to carry all your gear up to your campsite. We don't provide service to bring your stuff up. So just when you're packing, I would not suggest bringing a bunch of Dutch ovens unless you're in one of the very low campsites. But still, you want to be conscious of what you bring into camp. If you do want to do like a Dutch oven dessert, we'll talk about that later, but leave the Dutch oven in the car and then pick it up the night you want to do the Dutch oven. So that's it on this slide. We can go to the next one, Dylan. All right, so what's camp without paperwork? So if anybody is going to be staying at camp a cumulative of 72 hours or greater, so that means even if you show up on Monday and leave for a couple days and come back again, if it's over 72 hours, you must be a registered member of Scouting BSA. You must supply us with a medical parts A, B, and C. And being a registered member, obviously you've gone through YPT, you've gone through the state mandated reporting system and fingerprinting and all that. One of your first stops, as I mentioned, will be the health lodge. And this is where we screen the health forms to make sure that we understand the needs of your scouts and your adults. We have a nurse that will be there 24/7 during the week, and we go through all the medical forms. Now, one option that we give you is to pre-screen the medical forms at the council office. If you're able to get them to our council office in time, which is like a week and a half before camp, we would be more than happy to go through them and let you know if there's any issues that we see before you get to camp. That way you don't have to be waiting in line with the other troops that missed something in our one phone line out of camp trying to get a hold of the parent to get something emailed up to us. So it's a great service. The people at the scout office will go through all your health forms, and then they'll get transported up on the Thursday before with our scout executive or whoever's coming up to do our scoutmaster luncheon that week. We do provide locked boxes for each troop. We have each troop be responsible for their own medications. So if you, any of your scouts have medication, you usually take care of it when you go on campouts. So we figured, why should summer camp be any different? So we provide you a box with a lock on it that you can lock up any medication. Now, if you have anything that needs to be refrigerated or special care, we definitely can manage that in the health lodge. If a scout or an adult needs an EpiPen or a rescue inhaler, we request that they have those on their person all the time. Not having one at the health lodge, not having one back at camp doesn't do you a whole lot of good. It's best to have them on you. All right, next slide.
All right, this one's for me. Hello, everyone. I'm Nate. I'm the program director for Hi-Sierra. We're going to get into kind of what happens when you arrive at camp after the paperwork, after getting checked in there. So on Sunday, arrival starts at 1 p.m. That is once the staff is back from the weekend and getting geared up to receive everybody. So that's when the office opens up and you can sign in. Since Bruce talked about efficiency of parking and all that, you can unload all gear and just stage it in the flag meadow and keep all your troops gear together. And then once there's time, then we can move it to the campsite. But that way we just get out of the car so that the cars can move on where they need to go. Once every troop arrives, they will be assigned a troop guide. So that is a staff member familiar with camp that can be partnered with them and take them around, check them in everywhere, and give them a tour of camp and kind of be their first go-to person to answer questions and make sure the campsite's all ready. So they're gonna take you all around. First stop is gonna probably be the health lodge to go through those medical records, make sure everyone's good to stay in camp. We also go through all the program areas, so checking out where everyone's merit badges are going to be. So they'll get to go around and and those will all be laid out as well as like any other like special requirements for what to bring when you show up and all that. We also stop by the dining hall, and that's so that you can meet the head steward and the chef, because we have we do family style dining. So troops will be at tables, and then the food will be brought in serving trays to the table, so then portions can all be handled within. And I was just muted. It's all good. But to do that, we have a steward. So a member or two from the troop will go ahead of the meal to just help set up the table. So that whole process will also be outlined once you get checked in. The dining hall is also good to check in and make sure we have proper accounts for any dietary restrictions, so that accommodations can be made. All right, and then for scouts that are doing aquatics related merit badges, we have the swim check available on Sunday. And so your troop guide will take you to aquatics and run you through that. So those scouts can get their swim check ready and out of the way, so then they can go to their merit badge classes later on. All right, and then not necessarily in all that order, but we'll get you checked into your campsite. Campsite's going to be home for the week, so it's good to get you there and get you situated with that, and familiar, and give you a chance to like decompress, because we know it's a long car ride and a lot of info dump right as you get into camp. So we want to get you moved in and give you a chance to unpack a little bit. All right, and I think that's it for the slide.
All right, before we go on to this slide, why don't we answer a few of the questions that were in the chat so we don't leave them all to the end. One of the questions was, can you park a trailer at your campsite? No. So trailers can be brought. We have room for them. That's why we're asking you to be efficient on how you carpool. We have plenty of room to park the trailers in the parking lot, but again, we have no way of, we can't take cars or trucks across the river. So there's no way to get your trailer over there. So you'd have to move everything up to camp yourself. Hammocks are allowed in campsites. The person that said they couldn't hear, hopefully that's been resolved. If you're still having problems, let me know. The fingerprinting, that is a state requirement. And from my understanding, you need to be fingerprinted and take the state mandated reporting class before you come to camp. We will be checking that. And if you do not have that, I think from a state standpoint and a national standpoint, we would not allow people into camp. That's something you can follow up with Dylan, but I'm pretty sure that's a very black and white type of line. There is a lot of different places that you can get fingerprinting done. We've been offering it for months around here. So hopefully you can fit that in. I know it's tough with your vacation there, but there's other places you can just go to. And let's see, swim checks. So we prefer that you do the swim checks in camp. The reason why is our water usually has melted snow about a half hour before it hits the lake. So it's very different doing a swim check in a heated pool in the valley or somewhere else versus actually doing the swim check in our lake. So if you're doing an aquatics merit badge, we request that you do the swim check in camp, so you understand what the water's like. If you're in a canoe and the very first time you experience water at camp is when you get tipped over, it will take your breath away, literally. So we do prefer that. So back to the slide. We will be supplying Wi-Fi for all the adults. It's based on a limited amount of access. And then after that, you can buy more Wi-Fi coupons at the office. But if you turn off all your updates and everything and don't have like Facebook updating and things like that, it's pretty good. And if you're not sending pictures large pictures from your phone, the Wi-Fi does last pretty good. We have 2 shower buildings, one on the north and one on the south side of town. and a town of camp, and they're accessible by the campsites on both of those. We have a trading post, which is down by the river, which we sell snacks, shirts, souvenirs. Dylan will talk about the shirts in a little bit probably too. There are access to washing machines for emergency usage only. It's basically for the staff to clean their uniforms during the week. But if there, you do have an emergency and you need something cleaned, we'll be more than happy to let you use our wash machines and dryers. As I mentioned, we do have a health officer present on staff 24/7. And to go along with the health officer, you got to have coffee. So there's always coffee available in the dining hall, and just go in and whenever you would like to have it. We do not have electricity in any of our campsites. So if you have like a CPAP machine or anything that requires power, it needs to be battery powered. We do supply charging stations by our trading posts that are locked, kind of 12 by 12 cubbies that have outlets in them that you can charge batteries for your CPAP machine. You can charge your phone and it's free. You just check out a key from the office. And then we also offer adult education. So if any of your adults aren't trained, want to do OLS or Scoutmaster specifics, we will provide that, because it's nothing better than to have a trained adult for a scout. Let's see, coverage for the Wi-Fi is mainly down in the program area. So from the dining hall, pretty much everything on that side of the hill where the dining hall is, the office and everything there will have coverage. And then from the trading post to handicraft has coverage. So that's where it is locally. Some of the campsites do get a little bit of coverage, but it's just kind of a freak of nature, the way things bounce around. So leaders can leave camp as long as you have your 2 deep leadership. We require that you check out from the office so we know that you've left, and then check back in when you come back. One of the big things we want to track, and there'll be a new form this year that you'll get, is we want to make sure we know what car you have and how many seats they have. So if we do have a fire or any type of emergency, we have a better idea of how our transport system looks, and how many cars and how many kids we can fit in it if we did have to evacuate camp for some reason. There is cell coverage in camp. It's like a half a bar. It's AT&T only. I don't really know how it works because it just got turned on a few months ago. So the mandated reporter is for anybody coming to camp. As I mentioned, if a parent's coming to camp and they need to be a registered member of the Boy Scouts or Scouting BSA, and they have to do the fingerprinting and the regular YPD, everything a regular leader needs to do, they need to do. All right, so our dining hall experience, as Nate mentioned, that we do eat family style. So that means everybody will be sitting at a table or multiple tables, depending on the size of your unit. Those little green benches are where what we call the stewards live. That's somebody from your troop, and you'll have a duty roster that's in the leader's guide to assign who's going to do what meals, and they will help serve the food. Every meal will have a vegetarian option. So we don't consider vegetarian to be different. I mean, we will have our normal and vegetarian both at each one's. We do work with dietary restrictions. We've seen pretty much everything that I can think of so far. So the best thing is to contact me about a week before you come to camp, and we'll have my email address here at the end, and we can work through any dietary restrictions either you have or any of your scouts have. We do quite well just about every, well, I know we have a couple of staff that are gluten-free. We definitely have quite a few vegetarians on staff. We have some dairy-frees. So we're used to cooking that, and we have stuff around. But we also have an area in the dining hall dedicated to if you want to bring up your own food to augment what we have for dietary restrictions. So there's a refrigerator up there, a microwave, a toaster that's like gluten-free only, and place to store all that and your ability to access it. Now you can't come in the kitchen and cook things as it's too hard for us to be cooking for 300 to 400 kids and have an adult come in and just cook one meal. But we will work with you in any way possible. We will be eating both inside and outside. I have had a few requests from individual scouts, which is unique this year. I think it's still getting used to COVID that they want to eat outside, and that's fine. If there's a request from somebody in your troop and they want to eat outside, then the whole troop will eat outside for COVID. Right now, in your leader's guide is what we're going with in terms of our COVID restrictions. Right now, everybody over 18 either needs to be vaccinated or test negative. Things are changing as COVID loosens up and tightens up in some areas. So we're just kind of watching it right for now, but it is in your leader's guide, and we will be updating those as we change our policies. Let's see here. We have. Okay, next slide.
Okay, so I will talk a little bit about the amenities and resources at the various campsites. So on the campsite map, there were a whole bunch of campsites listed that are spread throughout, and they all come with certain things. So the first thing is they come with canvas tents, and those canvas tents do not have any cots inside of them. There are a couple of cots available for rent through the office if there are some folks who really need a cot and didn't bring one and or want to rent one. But generally speaking, we do not provide cots. They are wooden platforms with canvas over the top of them. Each campsite has access to 2 flushing toilets and a hand washing station, water fountain with a hose. And so the hose is part of the fire control. Every campsite also has a campfire ring with a broom, a shovel, and a rake for the fire tools. You will have a fire marshal chart on a bulletin board. You should post who the fire marshal is for your campsite. It's a great way to give responsibility to a youth member of your troop. And we will also have a flagpole and a flag in your campsite so that you can do troop flags before you come down for the campsite or the overall camp flag ceremonies if you would like. And then there also is a picnic table with a rain fly, and there is also a lockbox in the campsite. So these are the general things that are available. And there are more when we get to the next slide. So 1 second, here we go. There's the patrol box. Inside that patrol box, there will be an American flag and there will be the refillable supplies. So there will be toilet paper, soap, urinal cakes, feminine hygiene supplies, and you will have a commissioner, i.e. a volunteer who is at camp that will be not only working with you throughout the week, they will be coming by to do an inspection of your campsite, but they are your point of access for all the refillable supplies in camp. On that bulletin board, like I said, there is a blank fire chart and a duty roster. You will want to fill both of those out. The duty roster will have space for stewards to be assigned, as well as other duties. There is no electricity in the individual campsites, as Bruce already talked about. There is a charging station with lock boxes near the trading post down near the program areas. And then we already talked about this, no cots for adults or youth. There are a few available to be rented. No food in the campsites, and there are no bear boxes in camp. So one of the big things that we want to do is make sure that we treat our furry friends well. And camp is in a wild area. So one of the main controls that we have is we do not allow any food into the campsites, or really, as we like to put it, on the other side of the river from where the dining hall is, so that we can avoid attracting any of the larger wildlife like bears to the area, or as we like to call them, mini bears like the squirrels and the chipmunks from showing up and eating through your camp pack or your sleeping bag or anything else in the campsite. Let's move on to Nate. That's not Nate, but
Yeah.
gives you a good idea.
Yeah. Real quick, there was a question about fires allowed in campsites. Fire is a big concern for us. So right now, our current plan is that we'll have troops allowed to have a fire in their campsite on Wednesday nights. And that way we know what night it is, and we'll have staff kind of around the hill. Side note, also feel free to invite staff to your campfires to join in and sing songs and tell stories and all that. But that way we'll have just hands available if we need to handle any situations. But if any red flag warnings come up or any situations change, then we might restrict that down more. But that's kind of what we went with last year, and it seemed to work out. All right, on to Saga of Hi-Sierra. This is an extra activity to participate in during camp beyond merit badges. This is our camp-wide service organization. So the idea of this is that we want to help scouts focus on their time at camp and kind of reflect on the experiences that they have, and kind of do this as they progress through their journey through scouting. So it can start from the basics of trying out a skill of the day, a short 5-minute activity that they can do and just get a little taste of something at camp. And it can progress to doing service projects, to leading campfire skits, and kind of all these different ways to participate in camp and fill their week with a variety of different things. And for each of those things that they do, they can be rewarded with a colorful bead. And they can make necklaces, or I've got a lanyard here. But that way they can show off what they've done. And in doing so, they can earn ranks. So many camps have similar programs. So if you're coming in from a different camp that had earned ranks for scouts, we do try and reflect on that and transfer those over, equivalently. It's generally 1 rank per year at summer camp. Yeah, this is a really fun program. And it's got the 4 different ranks are Seeker, Guardian, Trailblazer, and Legend. And then a Great Legend is for those that go above and beyond in camp. And the legends get to have their names recorded in our book of legends. So really extra incentive to participate. Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us up to camp checkout and kind of how to wrap things up. A printout of Scout Achievements is available on Friday night. We are a blue cardless camp, so we run all of that through Tentaroo, and that's one of the main ways that we kind of have streamlined the process in the last few years. Sign up for camp in camp for your best rate for 2023. So you get a pretty significant discount on your registration if you rebook for next summer while you're in camp for the week of. So we highly suggest that people take advantage of that and put in a reservation form. The troop guide, so every troop is assigned a staff member who guides you around on the first day. They also pal around with you a little bit for the week. They and the commissioner are going to be the folks to check you out on Saturday morning. So they're going to help inspect your campsite, make sure that everything is going well. And then they will make sure that one of the things you don't forget is your health forms on the way out. And so we want to make sure that everything you turned into us gets given back to you when you are leaving camp. And that is part of it. And let's move on to Bruce.
So let me answer a few questions that I saw going by in the chat. One of them is our COVID protocols. I touched on that lightly, but it is something that I think we should go into in a little more detail. Last year, we were one of the few camps in California that did not experience any cases of COVID. And I believe it's because of the cautions we put in place. And we are going to go with those this year, as I mentioned. We may relax some things depending on where the state's at, but As I said earlier, everybody who's going to need to either be vaccinated or show a negative test within 72 hours of coming to camp. We will not be wearing masks this time because the schools have gone away from them. Last year we wore masks when we were in classrooms or in the dining hall, except when you were eating. But right now that's kind of loosened up, so that's changed a bit. Let's see, there was another question here. So food from the trading post needs to stay at the trading post. There are garbage cans there that get emptied multiple times a day. There are garbage cans in your campsite. You're responsible for emptying those. There's spare garbage bags, and we'll teach you the commissioner's areas where all of your restockable items are. So garbage bags, toilet paper, anything like that you need to restock your camp is in the commissioner's area. The Saga is definitely available for both scouts and adults. So Dylan will get, can you find that when the next leaders meeting is?
It's on the slide.
It's on the slide, okay. Oh, right there in front of me, geez. Okay, thank you. All right, so let me guess, I should read the slide. So our next leaders meeting will be May 12th. Actually, May 2nd is our next one. So May 2nd.
It's the Tentrue. That's the Tentrue training.
Yeah, so it's a very important meeting. Tentrue is the way we do all the merit badge signups. It's how you get all your advancement at the end. Tentrue will be there 5 years from now if you want to go back and find a partial. It's a very good tool. So May 2nd, Dylan will send out more information, but we will have a training. And so we'll go through anything else, but just how to do things on Tentrue, how to get all your scouts entered into it, which you must do before the night that you sign them up for merit badges. If you're there entering your scouts in the night you're trying to sign them up for merit badges, you'll never get them to any classes. They'll just fill up. So it's a good thing to offer or go to. And we're offering this for anybody if you've been to Hi-Sierra or not. The May 12th is just a regular leaders meeting. So we get more into the logistics of how camp works. We're not talking as much about camp like we are today for people that have never been there before. The leaders guide is up with the program guides. So we've released merit badges, and when they're offered, it's on the camp website. And that's how you can start working with your scouts to figure out what merit badges they want to take. I would suggest having a alternative for each scout. So if you find that metalworking, let's say, is one of our more popular merit badges, if you have a scout that wants to get into metalworking and they can't, what do you put them in instead of metalworking? So to have a few options around that. If you are ever up in that area and you'd like to see camp before camp starts, you're more than happy to give me an email, or our ranger on site would be more than happy to show you around camp. Definitely. Another option we have is what we call adopt a campsite. That happens over Memorial Day weekend. For $30, we'll supply all the food for you, and you get to stay in one of the campsites, and you help us by setting the tents up and just helping getting one of the campsites ready. It's a good way, especially for new parents, to see what camp is like. I've been a scoutmaster for 29 years, and I definitely have my new parents come up to this every year. It's much more calming for the parents. We get some homesick kids during the summer, but mainly I get homesick parents. They will call up asking how Johnny's doing. And it's like, well, I have 42 Johnnies and none of them have come to the office complaining. So I guess he's doing well. So we do offer SPL week. That is a week where your SPL can sign up for free, come up, take their merit badges. And then the week that your troops up there, they can act more as an SPL and helping keeping things structured and working with the fellow campers in your troop. It is totally up to you. Some troops take advantage of it, some troops don't. It needs to be either the week before or the week after that you're signed up for camp. And it's kind of a first come, first served basis in terms of if we still have room and everything. So I think right now in all weeks, except for maybe 3, I think we have room. Okay, so when do we get to questions? Do we have any questions there, Dylan?
SPL week.
It is totally optional. I pretty much, I just talked on it. It's totally up to you if you want to send your SPL or not.
They sign up through the staff application on the Hi-Sierra website. There is a staff portion of the website. There's an application there. That's where they sign up, and there is a what is your registration? And there is one of the things that is very unlike all the other ones, and that is SPL. You can indeed bring your own tents and set them up in the campsite if there is space. You might want to reach out to me to figure out what campsite you're in if you are unfamiliar, to see if there is actually space to set them up, but most likely there will be. And that's, a lot of adults prefer their own tent, and that's how we kind of would suggest and coach people to do that anyways. The SPL
And many people,
Whoop.
I've seen many people set up their own personal tents within the canvas tent just to have a platform on it, just for extra like mosquito protection and stuff like that, for extra privacy.
Not that we have a whole lot of mosquitoes, but
Is the SPL on their own, Nate?
They are they're going up the week before their troop goes up, so they'll be on their own in that sense, but they will be camping and hanging out with other SPLs in similar situations. So they'll definitely be able to like have a crew of people to be social with and stay grounded with.
we also have commissioners in training, which are scouts that are coming up for 2 weeks to volunteer and learn how to be a staff member. And the SPLs will be living with those CITs. So we usually have 10 per week. So, they'll have plenty of company. They'll eat with the SPLs and the CITs. So they won't be alone, that's for sure.
For the metalwork facility, there actually is a scheduled night for adults to come by and try out the forge and get to make some projects. So that is a scheduled part of the program. Right, and then can scouts set up their own tent inside the canvas tent?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
As
I
long
don't
as
see
they
why
don't
not.
as long as they don't damage the canvas tent, i.e. the wood or the other stuff, they'd be fine.
All right. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to unmute everybody. And if you have a question, go ahead and ask it. And we'll see what we have in terms of answers for you.
I think people should be able to unmute themselves now. Maybe.
We can.
Yeah.
I got muted. Diane, did you do that?
No, it was me.
No. So the patrol boxes that we have are boxes that are mainly used for storing things like extra toilet paper, bathroom supplies, things like that. They're not used for putting food in or anything like that. We did have an issue last year for the first time in quite a few years, but we had a teenage bear in camp, which was exciting all in its own. We also had an earthquake like the day before, neither of which we've had up there in who knows how many years, at least 10. When we got everybody into the dining hall to make sure that we got the bear chute out of camp and down the road to the next feeding hole, we ended up clearing food out of campsites, and we had a whole truckload full of food that we pulled out of 2 campsites. And most of it was ramen. And the answer from that scoutmaster was, we didn't think ramen was considered food. So I don't get that. But when we mean no food in campsites, we're not saying that you can't have toothpaste like in Yosemite Valley, but we do not want the bears sniffing around, poking around. And I don't think you want them in camp, especially in the middle of the night. Dishes are provided in the dining hall. You do not need to bring a mess kit. Somebody beat me to it. Let's see.
And just a note on that previous question about the patrol boxes, just because of the wording, we provide those. Those are already in the campsite, and they will start the week off fully stocked. And then throughout the week, if you need extra supplies, then you can get in touch with the staff member about where to find extra toilet paper or trash bags or whatever it is you need.
Right.
Sorry, my question was more about in the list of equipment we're supposed to bring, it listed patrol boxes. And we have patrol boxes, but they're all primarily around food preparation. And that was confusing to me. So it sounds like we do not need to bring those.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Was that in the leader's guide that you saw that?
Yes, there was a guide that had a list of all the like equipment and clothing that you could bring, things that you were recommended to bring, and things you
Gotcha.
definitely shouldn't bring.
Okay, we'll go and clarify that and change the wordage on that a little bit. Thank you so much for the question. Any other questions anybody has?
Gio has his hand up.
Hey guys, yeah, this is Gia. Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah.
Hi, thank you. Well, nice to hear you guys again. And I do remember that bear, and I do remember that earthquake last year. How's capacity going to look like for camp this year? Are you guys going to be fully? Is all the campsites full?
So I think what Gio was talking about a little bit is last year, one of our precautions for COVID is we limited the number of scouts to 200 in camp each week maximum, so we could properly space everybody out in the dining hall and in classes and things like that. Right now, where we're seeing COVID going and everything, we're running on the assumption that we can go full capacity and that we can offer merit badges where we didn't offer last year, like life-saving, where there was a lot of one-on-one contact that we didn't feel was safe. So we're bringing those merit badges back, and we do not have a limit on the number of campers in a campsite.
And just also another follow-up question. Well, but is the cooking merit badge going to be back this year?
No, this year we're trying to bring back Pinecrest. That's where we got the demand last year, was for Pinecrest. So we're seeing if we can do Pinecrest this year, and then next year we'll see what we can do about cooking. Cooking's a tough one, because there's no way we can make that a complete merit badge. It's always going to have to be a partial. And we have not been able to do it justice in the past. So we're still looking at how can we do that better. And there's a lot of people that don't want to go to camp and get partials. Well, I should say there's a lot of parents that don't want their kids to go to camp and get partials. But we're definitely working on that for next year.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bruce.
And the biggest new thing we have this year for fun program stuff for 14 and over is cowboy action shooting. Yay! So that isn't in the program guide, but it is in the merit badge schedule. It is for older scouts. So if you have any folks interested in that, encourage them to sign up. And let's go to Mr. Matt.
Hi, y'all. Is there any caps on really popular merit badge classes, like course? How many scouts can be in the course at once?
Yeah, so all merit badge classes have caps in them. We do not want to have huge classes of 40 kids doing sit in the nation or communications. We just don't feel that's an effective learning tool. So most of our basic classes, if you want to call them that, have a cap of 15. And then other ones like metalworking, the rifle range, the shotgun range, the archery range, all the safety ones, aquatics, those have caps depending on the merit badge themselves. So climbing has its own cap. So that it kind of varies depending on the merit badge.
Yeah, so those should be listed when you go to sign up for them. With caps also comes a wait list. So you can get on a wait list and come to camp and see if you can get in. If you're kind of first through third on the wait list, it's pretty likely you'll get in. And that also depends on what the class is. Sometimes the instructor might go a little bit above the cap, but for some of them, it's a bit more harder line on that.
Yeah, the resources section of the Hi-Sierra website has the merit badge schedule posted to it. And on that schedule, there are also listed the caps. And so we're going to put an updated version of that. There's been one or two small little things on there, like rowing, you need to be a swimmer. That's not up on that right now. We just need to put the update, but it should have most of the information on it that you're looking for when it comes to little teeny things like that. Also, the program guide is listed there as well.
So classes like metalworking or welding, for safety reasons, we have a hard cap of how many we can take into there. But if you do want to go onto the waiting list, sometimes people do drop out, and you would be the first, as Nate said, if you're 1 or 2 on the waiting list for those type of merit badges, there is a chance that you might get in. Now, if we have 15 and 3 people want to take communications, we'll probably stretch to get those 3 people in the communications, and we'll make that happen. And you can reach out to us on those. But if you're any more than 3, that's where the alternative merit badge schedule comes into play. Figure out something else for that scout, because the odds are they're not going to get in there.
Yeah, and something that we started doing last year, which seemed to work out really well, was once we get kind of after the first day, an idea of openings in classes, like what classes still have spots available, we'll actually post that on a bulletin board outside the office. So if anyone needs a new badge, then we can show you that and kind of go through and find one that fits your schedule.
And just like college classes or whatever, you can add and drop. You can just let the teacher know that you're not going to be coming to the class. Sooner the better, because we keep you enrolled for the first 2 days, but that lets somebody else in that's on the waiting list. And obviously, if you've gotten into another merit badge, that's the easiest way to do it. And let's say you just wanted to change to something else that isn't full, you just go tell that teacher that you want to add, and they'll put you on the list.
Someone just asked, where do we sign up for the badges? You will want to attend the Tentaroo training. Your unit will sign up for the badges through Tentaroo, which is the registration system. And you'll probably want to come to the May 2nd Tentaroo training that we're going to have at 7 p.m. here on Zoom. Let's see, Bruce, do you have any more info on
Yeah,
that?
so it's very much like signing up for college classes. It's a first come, first served basis. You sign up. You can either sign up part of a scout or all of the scouts merit badges, then check out their basket like you're, in Amazon. If you don't check out, they don't have the merit badge. So until you actually hit that checkout button, they do not actually own that merit badge, and somebody can take it away from you, especially in the more popular ones. There'll be 4 of us available the night that you're doing your merit badge signup, so we can do phone support in case you're having any problems. As I talked about, and we'll talk about on May 2nd, is making sure that you have all your scouts entered into Tentaroo before the night of your merit badge classes. I would focus on any scout that needs something to get to Eagle, your 17-and-a-half-year-olds that need to get certain merit badges at summer camp.
Is this your question?
Here's my question to everybody.
I would sign those scouts up first and check them out in those merit badges. If there are certain merit badges that that are popular and you want to get into, go ahead and sign your kids up into those, and then you can always come back and add more merit badges for those kids. Vests. I'm assuming you're talking about life vests for the aquatics. Yes, we do supply those. And we have multiple sizes. We also supply helmets for the cycling area, and also different size helmets for the climbing area. Did I hear a question in the background when I was talking there at first? Guess not.
Okay. Oh, there's one more hand raised. Andrew Weath.
Yeah, I just had a question about the trail to first class, so the tenderfoot second class and first class sessions. Do you have to be the rank below to register for those, or could you have a tenderfoot sign up for the first class? A number of our scouts have done a substantial amount of the requirements for second class, and so it might not make sense for them to attend the second class. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, no, that does.
Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah. You can sign up for whatever makes sense for you to shoot for. So if the scouts are already feeling good on the requirements for their next rank, then they can shoot for the one above for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Sure. So one other thing about Tentaroo, it only allows one person really to be in there at a time doing the system. So if you have a larger troop, you need to be a little more organized, and we can help you with that. And you'll need to know each of your scouts, what they want, and be able to log them in. It is important that when you do create the scouts profile in there, that you do have a real address, a real email for them and a phone number. So again, if we do have any emergencies, I don't want to harp on fires or anything, but California's been ablaze lately. I guess it's Arizona tonight, but we are very conscious of COVID and fires. Those are our two biggest things that we watch out for. And we want to prepare as much as possible. So if we do have to evacuate camp, we want a way to be able to contact one of your contact people that's not in camp, and have a list for them to be able to get a hold of parents, just to where to hook up with kids if something does happen. All right, so it looks like we've kind of answered most of the questions. We'll hang around for another 5-6 minutes here. But thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I hope this was informative. There is